Hey, hello, and we are back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We'll be doing the fifth case, the Adventure of the Unspeakable Story. I hope I fixed out my chat box. Fixed my chat box not working last stream. Um. Anyway, let's get into this.
It's coming! Jones's cry pierced through the thick wall of fog around us. Wisps of vapor flowed over the pistol as I cocked it, and I waited breathlessly in the stillness. The silence lasted for what seemed an eternity, until, at last, it appeared. From the shadows of the cloud, an enormous beast sprang out upon us. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal has ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smoldering glare. The whole of its ox-sized body was outlined in white-hot flames. Its rumbling pant and hideous howl, so terrified was I that I began to tremble with fear. "Look well, Wilson," Sholmes declared, gazing upon the mystical beast. "For this is the diabolical hound of the Baskervilles."
Yeah, I don't think it's fixed. Don't know what the problem is with it though. There's no there's no hiding and there's no chat delay. Text color white, background color that. Browser set. It sounds like it's supposed to be working, but it's not showing up. Look that up real quick.
Hello, so guys, today I'm going
Okay, try again. Because I might have fixed it. I can't send chat messages and Streamlabs. Nope. What is going on with this then? Oh. I'll fix it. I'll try to fix it again when there's actually music, so it isn't just nothing. Our first 2 months in London passed by in a flash. In that disconcerting courtroom experience we were first thrown into on the day we arrived in the country. And in Saseki-san's terrible ordeal that had followed closely behind, we had emerged victorious. However, There then came an abrupt end to our opportunities to appear in court, which was hardly surprising, of course, since I was nothing more than an amateur, an unknown student of law from a faraway land. So life in our little office was very quiet. That is, until it was shattered one day by that fateful telegram. 15th April 9:13 a.m. Naruhodo's Legal Consultancy. That morning, I was woken by the unreserved knocking on the door by the telegram boy, but after he'd gone, Susato-san's behavior became very obviously strange. Susato-san? Yes. Okay. I'm gonna try again to fix... I'll have to mute the audio so you don't hear it. Okay. Give me a second. That works, but... Follow notifications, subscription notifications, bit notifications, and host notifications don't work at all. Neither does the chat box. Why is that? It's so odd. Ah. I could try just adding a new chatbot. I'm gonna remove these widgets, then I'm gonna add a new one. Okay, it's not working. Why is that? It's irritating. I don't know why that's the only thing that works. I'm just gonna give up on it. I'll try to figure it out next stream, because it is a bit irritating that it just doesn't work. But should probably actually get onto the actual stream. So, is it time to leave for court already? Let me see. What case is it today? I don't think I'm scheduled to defend anyone at the moment, am I? Oh, no, of course not. How silly of me. But I think Iris said she would make us breakfast this morning. So shall we go down to Mr. Sholm's suite? Yes. Iris makes the most delicious breakfast food. She does, doesn't she? And once our bellies are full, we can leave for court in fighting fit form. Let me see. What case is it today? Here we go again. I do want to examine this place. Okay. A spade has been in here since we started renting this place. Oh, that's not a spade, Naruto-san. It's a shovel. No, shovels are for digging. That is for scooping up loose material. It's a spade. No, spades are for digging. That is for scooping up loose material. It is a shovel. I don't want to dig a hole for myself, so let us leave it. Is this still ladders versus step ladders? Thing? It is spring at last, and the weather is warmer now, but I love the smell of the fire and the steam rising from the kettle. Oh, would you like some tea, Naruhodo-san? Thank you, Sasada-san, but I'm alright for now. The green tea Sasada-san makes for me from time to time, and Iris' unique herbal infusions. This place is paradise for a true tea lover. Green tea is such a wonderful accompaniment to British tea cakes, don't you think? So this is the tea set that Susato-san brought with her from Japan. Let us hope she hasn't noticed me slipping sugar and milk into my cup when she makes it. It's just so bitter. Tea is a drink to be enjoyed, Naruhodo-san. You really don't have to force yourself to drink it, you know. I don't like to see you screw up your face so. We've only been here in London for about 2 months, but my desk is starting to look a little messy already. You could tidy up once in a while. Sato-san, I always say, making a mess is a small sacrifice to pay for being able to further your studies, and time spent tidying up is time you can't devote to the same cause. And time spent on ridiculous arguments is time that could be better spent on simple housework. She wins, but I'm supposed to be the lawyer here. This must be the telegram. Let's see. No! You mustn't look at that. Not under any circumstances. Alright, I won't. I'm sorry, Naruto-san, but you can be very mischievous at times. Then put the telegram away, if you don't want people looking at it. We were rather lucky to find that old aquarium left behind here. The prawns we put in there are doing rather well, and the anemones too. It is a wonderful invention, isn't it? The sea behind the glass inside your room. Another example of Great Britain's greatness. Having to clean it out and change the water isn't so great though, is it? Yeah. Do you know, I've never seen inside your room there, Susato-san. I've never even peeped inside. I should think so too. A young maiden's private chamber is a place of bittersweet secrets, you know. Whatever you say, young maiden. So, what was it about? The telegram that was delivered this morning, I mean. Oh, telegram? I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, but you're not going to get away with that. Well, I didn't think I would. Actually, don't give it a moment's thought. It is nothing interesting. Boring, in fact. It was just a boring old telegram. That is 3 times now that she's tried and failed to convince me it was nothing. I promise that I'll tell you about it at some point. Alright, I understand. I suppose Saseki-san will have arrived back in Japan by now, won't he? Yes, I should think so. So he's not dead. That's good. He had left immediately after that terrible ordeal. Which would mean he should have completed the voyage already, or be just a few days away. A fortnight ago, we had that very long telegram from him. Do you remember? Complaining of seasickness? But by and large, it seems the voyage has been going well. Actually, there's something wrong, Naruhodo-san. Yeah, there. There. Now you can see that the chat box is not working. Chat box and alert box are not working. Is something wrong, Naruto-san? I was just wondering, what might have become of Saseki-san had he stayed in London, that is all. You mean, as regards Lord Van Zeeks, the Reaper? Yes, I can't help wondering if seasickness would have paled into insignificance in that case. What is it they say? That no one who stands in the dock can be saved from the Reaper, right? Like the way that nightmarish trial ended on the very day we arrived in London. Even 2 months on, the cause of that dreadful fire is still a mystery. Yes, but at least Saseki-san is safely out of the country now. Presumably that means that the curse of the Reaper can only take effect within the confines of the city of London, perhaps. Even if that is the case, it's little comfort. I have a terrible sense of foreboding. If the legend of the Reaper is to be believed, it would mean he wields the sword of justice himself. Come to think of it, I wonder what he's been up to these past 2 months. Surely not wielding that sword against more acquitted defendants. No, I don't think so. Apparently, Lord Van Zeeks hasn't appeared in court once since our last encounter. Oh? Yes, since Saseki-san's trial, he's withdrawn from judicial service again, it seems. Really? Just like before, when he wasn't seen in court at all for several years. So, it's just been me who's had to face him in his recent spate of trials then? Just my luck. I wonder if luck doesn't come into it. Sorry, what was that? Oh, nothing. Never mind. Let's go to the Sholmes Suite. I thought I turned my cursor off. There. No, you won't see it moving around during the stream. 15th April, Sholmes Suite. Morning, Runo. Morning, Susie. Good morning, Iris. God, what is that ear-scratching tone? Iris? What is it, Runo? What is that terrible noise? It sounds like a cat being strangled. Yeah, kinda. Ah, yes. You noticed that, did you? Sholmes clearly doesn't know how to play a piano. I mean, that violin. Hurley isn't the best from this form this morning, it seems. Hello. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Good morning. A good morning to die, perhaps. God, has something happened, Mr. Sholmes? You look miserable, and the way you were playing the violin before. My analytical mind is dead. Music is dead. The world is dead. Damn this blanched existence. That is all it is, my dear fellow. Nothing of consequence. I'm afraid I don't understand. Well, Iris, isn't it time we ate? Some dry toast and an insipid coffee for me, if it's not too much trouble. Meow. It's a cat. It's cute too. Oh look, it's Wagahe. Wagahe? Wagahe. I'm gonna stick with that one. Good morning, boy. Meow. That must be some sort of tiny door for cats to use. But how did it get there? Well then, everyone, time for breakfast. Oh, wonderful. Let me help you, Iris. It would indeed be a fine day to die. I knew something looked different. His thing is gone. Something's missing from Mr. Sholm's desk. Look at Mr. Sholm's desk. It's completely clear. Isn't that enormous machine usually on it? We can never hope to understand what goes on in the great detective's mind, Mr. Naruto. Why, next time we are invited, we may find he's vacated the entire suite. That is scarily plausible, actually. There's all sorts on these shelves. Chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. It is all heaped up so high, I can't help feeling that the whole lot is going to topple at any moment. Oh, it is such a charmingly untidy collection of paraphernalia, isn't it? It just looks messy to me, like my desk. There we go. Bit more visible. But you, Mr. Naruto, must learn to tidy up after yourself. No favoritism there. The fire is burning comfortably in the grate again today. It is a very different feeling to a Japanese hibachi somehow. Oh, look at that photographic print of a lady displayed on the mantelpiece. Could it be? Yes, it must be! It is the woman! Oh, how exciting! Is that supposed to mean something to me? Oh. What does that mean? I guess I won't know. It looks like that huge metal chest is being used as a table for coffee and tea. It seems very sturdy, with an equally sturdy lock. Mr. Naruto, you mustn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't I? You are very mischievous. How did you come to that conclusion? These are all mementos of Mr. Sholm's past cases, I think. If he'd been involved in my case, I wonder if the beef steak from La Carnival would be on display here. That's funny. A mystery shoe, a curious hammer, some mysterious dancing men, a bust of Napoleon. Ah, what an entrancing collection! It looks like an untidy assortment of junk to me, rather like what's on my own shelves. Well, you really ought to learn to keep your things in order, Mr. Naruto. No favoritism there at all. Come to think of it, I haven't seen Iris doing much writing recently, but there is paper already set up in the typewriter. Look, as if she's about to start. That reminds me, when I mentioned that Iris was in the process of writing a full-fledged novel, Mr. Natsume was most impressed. Ah yes, Mr. Natsume. That is what I'll be doing too, once I'm back in Japan, he said through tightly clenched fists and teeth. Iris's beautiful tea set is there on the table as usual. A cup of one of her special herbal blends always helps me to relax when I'm feeling the strain. The English pastime of tea has many similarities with our own tea ceremony customs, don't you think? It is the idea of hospitality behind it. That is the essence of tea. That is a charming little white shelf, and full of charming little bottles too. But the contents of them aren't quite so charming, it seems. Science is the future, Mr. Naruto. You cannot deny that. I'm saving my money so that I can buy some chemistry apparatuses as well. Law, chemistry, takedown throws. What diverse skills you boast, Mr. Sato. As useful as they are, I am not sure that my throwing skills are worthy of inclusion in that list. This is where Iris notes down ideas, isn't it? Let's see, what does it say today? Ah, the Boscombe Valley Mystery. Oh, how intriguing. It must be the title of Iris's latest work. Oh my, I wonder what fantastic tale awaits us. Sato-san looks like an angel, but I bet she is dreaming of the most unsavory crime you could imagine. Wakai. Mr. Natsume's cat seems to have settled into his new home then. Oh, yes, and I've become very attached to little Waggy. Humph. It would appear his previous owner has completely forgotten to him. Cats are unfeeling creatures. Their mews are as empty as the hearts of the muses. If Mr. Natsume had no intention of taking Waggy back to Japan, I wonder why he kept him in the first place. I expect he would have taken him if he could, but pets are strictly forbidden aboard steamships in our experience. And for good reason. Terrible things can happen if the rules of passage are not obeyed. Well, I don't mind because Waggy is adorable. Yes, he really is. Oh yes, what about the door? I don't remember seeing that tiny thing in the main door before. Where did that come from? Oh, you noticed? You are observant, Runo. Look, I used this. It is my latest invention. It looks like if you combined a camera with a gun. What is that? I call it the cat flapomat. Cat flapomat. Gosh, a machine for making doors just for cats? That is right, it can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Waggy in seconds. And it can do it in any door at all, no matter what it is made of. It's very powerful, you see. Wouldn't it have been quicker just to make the cat flap rather than making a machine to make the cat flap? Well, yes, maybe, but now I can make cat flaps anywhere I like. Oh, I think it is wonderful. You must make one for us in the door of our office upstairs, Iris. She really knows how to come up with unconventional inventions, this girl. Hehehe. What's this? You seem to be very unhappy this morning, Mr. Sholmes. What has happened? It used to be the case that in my hands, this violin sung like the dawn chorus. Its melisonant tones would make flowers bloom. It would? But now, the muses are unamused with me. The goddesses of music have thrown me over. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? For hours I have bowed, for days even. Through the night I have endeavored, to no avail. That sound, my tone, is lost. That brilliant, clear, unwavering tone, gone forever. No more recitals of unbridled emotion. Well, you haven't been practicing much lately, have you, Hurley? Don't worry, I'm sure it will come back to you in time. Heed my words, Mr. Naruto. The goddesses of the arts are fickle. One day, they bestow genius on a man. The next, they unmercifully withdraw it. Oh, dear. Arg, why is this happening to me? If they take the turn I have for the violin from me, what is left? For pity's sake, what is left? Deduction, perhaps? Isn't that what you're known for? Mr. Sholmes, I don't like to pry, but your desk looks rather empty today. Well done, Mrs. Sato. Your observational skills do you credit. Oh no, Mr. Sholmes, they pale into insignificance when compared to yours. You'd struggle not to notice, wouldn't you? You mean Hurley's great analyticoscope? That's at Windy Banks now. Sorry, it's at a Windy Bank? No, Windy Banks, the pawnbrokery. Pawn? What? You mean you've pawned that enormous machine of yours? It has some considerable value, you see, quite undeservingly. But isn't it a very important machine for your work? I do wish you had consulted us if your situation had become so desperate. I should have gladly passed what little income I have to you. Dear madam, things are far from desperate. But the pawnbroker has your wonderful machine. How can it be anything but desperate? Making use of a pawnbrokery is quite ordinary here in London, I assure you. It doesn't sound ordinary at all. It would seem that neither of you fully understand how pawnbroking works. Oh, what is to understand exactly? What did you mean when you said we didn't fully understand how pawnbroking works? To the people of London, pawnbrokeries are akin to banks. Banks? On Mondays, merchants relinquish their finest jackets and trappings to their pawnbroker of choice. With the money they receive in return, they are able to trade happily through the week. And then on Saturdays, they go to recover their things using the money they've earned. I had no idea. This has been a fascinating lesson for us. Everyone does it, you see, especially people in inner London. And should they have money to spare, they would purchase another fine jacket. Not to wear, obviously, but to pawn, should the need arise. Oh, how ingenuous! So whenever we have something that is getting in the way, we leave it at Windy Banks, you see. A pawnbrokery can be thought of as an extremely secure vault. Who would have thought that even pawnbrokers are different here in Great Britain? Of course, you have to watch Hurley with it. Sometimes he pawns things he really shouldn't. Don't you, Hurley? What does it matter? The world is dead to me now. Meow. Oh, what was that? Wakahe? What was that? Oh, no! Wakahe's tangled up in your violin. I think he thinks it's a toy. No! What's he gonna do with it? Oh dear, Mr. Sholmes' precious violin. Why should I care? What? I shouldn't be surprised. If the cat is a more accomplished musician than I now. He just starts playing this amazing violin solo in the background. Mr. Sholmes really is in poor spirits, isn't he? Well, anyway, I'll put it back where it lives. Shall I, Hurley? Out of the cat's reach, if possible. Maybe we should assess the damage. Nothing appears to have changed. Well, I guess I can inspect the violin now. So, this is the violin, is it? It is a Stradivarius, one of the finest violins in the world, made by the renowned Italian luthier Antonio Stradivari. Oh, I see. It doesn't really look like anything special to me. Oh, now it has a long scratch right down that way. I happened upon it covered in dust, languishing in a pawn shop down a nondescript back alley. The broker had no idea of its value, so I was able to purchase it for a mere 55 shillings. How honorable of you. And until today, it has been my faithful companion in every great Paganini-inspired performance I have made. I ask you, is there a reason to live in a world devoid of music? To tolerate this blanched existence? No! There is none. Mr. Sholmes. What, dear madam? What? My thoughts are preoccupied with fancies of release from this dull routine. Well, it's about the violin. It looks very different to normal, don't you think? What do you mean, Mrs. Sato? Oh, Susie's right. Yes. The tone of the wood is completely different. And that's not all. I'm sure there was no crack here before. Wait, it is not even the right size, is it? What is this? I'm terribly sorry to have to tell you this, Mr. Sholmes, but that instrument isn't a violin at all. Then, what? I believe it is an entirely different instrument called a viola. What? What? Oh, Mr. Sholmes, are you right? You are right. You are quite right. This isn't my faithful Stradivarius. So what, pray, is this piece of stringed flotsam? Not your faithful performing partner, then? Ah, I see what must have happened. You do, Iris? This is just a simple mix-up. It sounds like Iris might be able to tell us exactly what has happened if we ask her. You leave it at the pawnbroker. What did you mean by a mix-up, Iris? Well, you see, this viola, I mean, was at Windy Banks until last week. At the pawnbroker's? Not Mr. Sholmes' beloved musical partner. There is a proverb from the East, with which you are no doubt familiar, my dear fellows. Always let a beloved child travel. Yes, indeed. So, you sent your beloved violin to the pawnbrokers in the hope it would experience personal growth? Oh, what a wonderful idea! Last week, I pawned my great analytoscope in order to release my precious instrument. But it would appear Mr. Windybank mistakenly furnished me with this tawdry fiddle instead. But my ears cannot be deceived by the hollow timbre of this piece of timber. No, but your every sense was deceived by the fact that it just had strings. Pshaw! A fine state of affairs this is, and why I always say, Mr. Naruto, never trust a pawnbroker. They will try to fill you every time. Says the guy who was just going on and on about how pawnbrokers are really good. But earlier you told us that you could think of a pawnbroker as an extremely secure vault. Come, Mr. Naruto. Dilly-dallying will get you nowhere. Sorry? Crunching your toast with that vacant aspect, fressing your coffee so obtusely? As you no doubt are you not a little embarrassed by your own conduct, considering the urgency with which we are faced? We must visit Mr. Windybank's brokery at once. That's right, isn't it, Mr. Sholmes? Precisely, Mrs. Sato. Without a moment's delay. But But I haven't finished my bacon and eggs. My dear fellow, surely you do not still intend there to crunch your bacon with an increasingly vacant aspect, to press your eggs ever more obtusely. All right, say no more. Let's go then. Don't worry, Bruno. I'd be happy to heat it up for you later. Oh, thank you, Iris. As it happens, I'm rather curious to see what a British pawnbroker looks like. Okay, let's move on over to the pawnbrokery then. Oh. Well, let's go to Baker Street first. Examine everything. Look at all that look at all the different things in the window of this shop. Ah, that is Windybank's, the pawnbrokery. It looks much smarter than a pawnbroker's in Japan, doesn't it? Yes, you are right. I find pawn shops at home rather inapproachable, personally. It reminds me of tearfully parting with my favorite fountain pen. I felt so miserable. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger, Mr. Naruto. It's already been 2 months since we started taking lodgings here above Mr. Shom's office. I still can't quite believe it. I never expected things would turn out like this. Oh, I know. To actually be sharing accommodation with the world's greatest detective. If I ever find myself before a court of law now, I will have not one regret. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'd be happy to defend you, of course. Looks like there's nothing special here. So let's go to the pawnbrokery. "15th April, Windybank's pawnbrokery." So this is a British pawnbrokery. Oh my, there are all sorts of tools and contraptions in here that I've never laid eyes on before. Ah, Susato-san, and that spark of wonder in your eyes. You can't wait to scour the shelves, can you? I get the impression you enjoy places like this. Oh yes, I don't know why, but seeing such a lot of things I don't understand is a real thrill for me. My dear fellows, let us not forget why we are here. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. We are calling on matters of business, not pleasure. And clearly Mr. Sholmes means business too, judging from the spark of fury in his eyes. Ah, Mr. Sholmes, sir, welcome back. Did you hear that brazen welcome? Well, yes, we are potential customers after all. We are disgruntled customers, Mr. Naruto, and it's time to inform Mr. Windybank of our ire. Come! The fight is afoot! I want to examine first, because there is a lot to go over here. What are you doing, my dear fellows? We are not here to browse for interesting curios. We have come to teach this broker a lesson. Oh, but there are just so many fascinating items. Looks as though we'll have to talk to Mr. Windybank first before you can explore in here, Mrs. Sato. Okay. Talk about the violin first. Naturally, you will recall this, which I retrieved from you some days ago. Yes? The second-rate fiddle is not my faithful instrument, Mr. Windybank. The color of the wood is different, it has holes in it, and it's not even the same size. A wonderful summary of our observations, Mr. Sholmes. I'm so sorry, sir. I'm so very sorry, sir. How utterly unforgivable of me. An inexcusable mistake for a pawnbroker. There's only one way to make amends. He runs away. He's just gonna shoot you. Oh, he's gonna shoot himself. I shall have to take my own life. My goodness! I don't think that will be necessary, do you? If I may just say one thing before I pop off. Yes? It was you, sir, Mr. Sholmes, who took it upon himself to remove the item the other day, I believe. Sorry? As I recall, I entered the storeroom to fetch your violin when I heard, here it is. You did? And when I turned to controvert you, you had taken the viola and left, sir. However, there can be no doubt that the blame lies firmly at my own door for allowing you to leave. So I shall not grumble or grouse any longer. May this guilt die with me. No, stop, my dear fellow. The fault is mine. Phew. It would appear that the fight is over. I do humbly apologize, Mr. Windbank. Evidently, my questionable disposition precipitated this tragedy. Well, you wouldn't be here, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, without that questionable disposition now, would you? Haha. I do believe you may be right, sir. Ha 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 ha. It is either laugh or cry, I suppose. You are, it must be said, one of my more challenging customers. I needn't remind you of the peculiar collection of items you've brought through my door in the past. Oh? Peculiar items? In the extreme, ma'am, for example, the unpublished manuscript of an eponymous work, the novels of Herlock Sholmes, or some such. Oh my, a new, full-fledged novel? An unpublished? A story I've yet to read, you mean? Ah! Forgive me! Wait before you die! You must tell me more! Jeez Christ, this dude needs to calm down. I must know more. Tell me everything. Wow, so Sato-san is really fired up now. Is there really anything? Is there really an unpublished story under this very roof? Well, one day the gentleman here brought in an old metal chest, you see. I should like to entrust this to your care for a while, Mr. Windybank. For just like that, 1 shilling, sir. Not a farthing more. It houses something of very great value indeed. The latest manuscript to recounting the adventures of one Mr. Herlock Sholmes. I beg your pardon? A manuscript? You wish to deposit a manuscript? Indeed I do, for I am confident it will be quite safe here. And that was that. As such, Mr. Sholmes' latest tale of the otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom. Mr. Sholmes, is that really true? Do I sense that someone doesn't want to talk about this? I continue to pay your fee, do I not? Then kindly continue to store my belongings securely. Of course, sir. Of course. They are safe and sound with me, I assure you, on my life. This is all very strange. I wonder, could I ask you something? Ah, a gentleman from the East, I see. Yes, that sable suit. I suppose I could offer you 6 pence for it. Without wishing to offend, the tone is somewhat dull. Sorry? Aha! But for your splendid attire, ma'am, 5 guineas, no less. The colors are exquisite, the design exotic, Eastern artistry at its finest, may I say. Oh my, 5 guineas, you say? How interesting. Why do I feel as though I've suffered some sort of defeat here? Actually, I was hoping to ask you about your business. I've heard it said that pawnbrokers are used rather like banks here in London. Yes, sir, indeed. Many of my customers utilize the establishment as you describe. I appraise their items and offer them a proportionate loan and 2 months of secure stowage. If in that time they repay the original sum to me plus the agreed interest, their items are happily returned. But what happens if they don't pay you the money? Then the items are offered for sale in my shop, as you can see on the shelves behind me. So you never sell items before the 2 months has passed, then? That is right, ma'am. That is right. Which means some considerable responsibility rests on my shoulders. Should a customer's precious belongings be lost, the only recompense is for me to end it all. The very idea, Mr. Windybank, is an absurdity. One should never talk of one's demise so casually, says the man who was telling us all it was a good day to die only this morning. And let us not forget that I have already helped you take measures to ensure such a tragedy never occurs. Oh, what sort of measures? I engineered a simple device which Mr. Windybank has installed here in his shop. I call it the red-handed recorder. Is that not so, Mr. Windybank? What was that deep sigh about? Red-handed recorder. What on earth is a red-handed recorder? Use your eyes, my dear fellow. There are two just below the ceiling. I can see what appears to be a camera attached to some sort of timing device. Very astute. It is indeed a camera furnished with some 100 pieces of celluloid film. And every 30 minutes precisely, the camera automatically records the appearance of the shop. Here, I have an example I can show you. Ah yes, a print from the camera set to record the activity at the shop counter. I developed a special type of film so sensitive it produces a crystal clear image even in the dark. Really? That is extraordinary. Yes, you can clearly see the counter and the door behind it. Look. So you see, were someone to enter the premises with ill intent, his identity would be summarily exposed. But did you not say the photographic prints were taken at 30-minute intervals? Indeed, as you say, my dear madam. Then what if the incident were to occur in between times? One could only say that would be a cruel twist of fate. I must confess, your advices have been giving me some cause for distress of late. I beg your pardon, Mr. Windybank. Surely they are anything but distressing. Reassuring is the word. It is the cost of the film, sir. You most graciously placed me not one but 2 cameras in my shop after all, which means I must pay for nigh on 100 utterly useless prints every single day. I'm afraid the cost of the film will break me before I'm very much older. Nevertheless, a small price to pay to ensure the safety of my preferred brokery, no? My dear fellows, we verge on an age where safety and security come at a price. Oh, heaven help us! Now then, Mr. Sholmes, allow me to return your precious violin. Ah, the very thing. Thank you, Mr. Windybank. Perhaps this might mark the end of the peculiar items you try to pop, Because if anything were to happen to one of them... This would be the only answer! I really think you ought to stop waving that gun around. Someone could get hurt. Fear not. Sorry? I've only loaded a single bullet, so no one but myself could possibly be harmed. That is not really what I meant. Good day to you, then, Mr. Windybank. It's been a pleasure as always, Mr. Sholmes. So, Mr. Naruto, now we can explore at last. Okay. Right to left. That's not a calendar you could easily miss, is it? 15th of April, today's date. Yes, that is not for sale, I must point out. It is an Eastern-style page-a-day calendar. Every night at midnight, I tear off the front page to reveal the following day's date. The perfect calendar for a tearaway fellow such as yourself, Mr. Windybank. And who was it who walked out of here with the wrong violin before? Well, when the agreed storage period has passed without repayment, articles are forfeited, you see. So I have to keep a close eye on the date. It's something of a pawnbroker's obsession, you might say. Oh yes, I can see you're very dedicated to your job. Now, what do you suppose this rather enormous machine does? It seems to have 2 little windows for looking through. Allow me to enlighten you, my dear fellows. What you're looking at is a stereoscope. Fascinating! It is aptly named, I assure you. Look through the eyepieces and see for yourself. Oh, I should be delighted to. Excuse me a moment while I just have a look. Just before you do, there is something I should point out. My dear fellows, in order to see the image properly, stereoscopically, as it were, you will need to be cross-eyed. However, if that is beyond you, it is of little consequence today. Alright then, I'm going to try it. Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, you must see, at once! Oh, alright then. So I need to be cross-eyed, like I'm trying to look at my own nose. What the? I don't believe it. It's just a photographic print, but it seems like you could reach out and touch it. Yes, the sense of depth is startling, is it not? Stereoscopes are one of London's many fads. They are often found in little stalls in the park. People queue for hours to see them. Why? Why are people meddling with such black magic? It is no magic, my dear madam. It is, well, far too complicated to explain at present. We shall save this lesson for another day. Oh. What an assortment of things there are on these shelves here. Crockery, footwear, clocks, and watches. Almost anything you'd care to imagine. Those are forfeited items, offered for sale by the pawnbroker. What does that really mean, though? When you pawn, or colloquially pop, an item, the broker loans you money against its worth. He stores the item for an agreed period of time, after which the loan must be repaid. If not, he is free to display it in a shop for sale at a price of his choosing. Oh yes, now you've explained it. I'm noticing little price tags on everything. Of course, simply by paying the agreed interest on the loan, one can extend the period of safekeeping. So you may pawn that black garb of yours without fear, my dear fellow. My treasured university uniform? Never! It embodies my student spirit. Look at this! What could this lovely big shiny box be? That, my dear madam, is a music box. Surely you have such things in your own country. Oh my, yes, but I've certainly never seen one so large before. Shall we listen a while? Ah, what a sublime sound. It's like the music of angels. I've never heard anything like it before in my life. This particular specimen is of the larger variety, commonly found in public houses and restaurants. There's a metal disc inside on which the notes to be played are recorded. Simply by replacing the disc with another, any music you care to imagine can be played. My goodness! What a simply delightful machine! Indeed, though their popularity has waned recently with the development of the gramophone, of course. Science and technology advance at such an overwhelming pace. It's got plenty of clocks. Look at that enormous ledger open on the counter there. Mr. Windybank is, if nothing else, very particular about recording the items he accepts. He'd have to be, otherwise he'd get himself into all sorts of trouble. which might explain the thing that catches my eye far more than the ledger. This revolver here. Do not entertain even a single thought of pilfering an article herein, my dear fellow. I assure you, Mr. Windybank would not hesitate to draw that weapon with the speed belying his portly size. Oh, you don't mean he'd blow his brains out? Indeed, in recompense for his blunder. Oh my. But in any case, of course we would never do such a thing. How could you even suggest it? There seems to be a little door hidden behind that curtain there. That leads to the storage room, where Mr. Windybank keeps articles that are currently in pawn. Ah, I see. There's nothing of particular interest inside. I certainly wouldn't recommend any larcenous activity. Recommended or not, it is not something I tend to do. There is but one key, and Mr. Windybank keeps it in his pocket at all times. Gosh, I've got so many water bottles on my desk. Before he sleeps, he places it into a small pot which he slides under his pillow. How on earth do you know about that, Mr. Sholmes? I am a detective, sir. It is my business to know what others do not. I am frequently assailed by information that I neither care for nor wish to retain. Mr. Sholmes, you are a wonder, and the prime suspect if this pawnbroker is ever burgled. Can I? Nothing else. Okay. I've investigated thoroughly, but I can't find anything out of place. There we go. 3 globes of gold. Is that some sort of charm? Dear me, have you not seen this sign before? No, never. The 3 golden balls are, in Great Britain at least, the universal sign of a pawnbrokery. There are more than 700 such establishments in the capital, all showing the same sign. Oh, I see. Ha! I had not imagined your ignorance was so profound. Oh well, what is the significance of 3 golden balls, then? Does it have some special meaning? That is entirely unimportant here, dear madam. Irrelevant, even. You mean you don't know? I guess I can move out to Baker Street. Let's move back to the Sholmes suite. Right? Where do I go? Or not? Converse. What to do? Can it really be that we've been in Great Britain for 2 months already? Yes, it has gone by in a flash, hasn't it? And what an English gentleman you trailed off there, Susato-san. I'm so sorry. When I thought it through, I realized it is not at all true, actually. I simply don't feel that any Britishness has really rubbed off on you. Nor you, to be honest. Well, that's obviously because, yes, I know, without a doubt, it is your kimono. It most certainly stands out. I do adore the attire of English ladies. It is quite delightful, but somehow I just don't feel ready to abandon my Japanese dress just yet. I wonder how Susato-san would look in Western clothes. That would be interesting. That did not tell me what to do. So let's try to examine more, I guess. Look at this! Whatever could it be used for? I have no idea. Ah! There's a small catch just here, look. We are going to open it, aren't we? Oh my, that is amazing! It has some sort of spring-loaded mechanism, which we'll never manage to put back to the way it was before. What are you two doing? What? Us? Nothing. No, nothing at all. Whatever this device is, it seems to have a pair of little windows to look through. I feel as though I've seen something rather similar to this elsewhere. What? Only 2 pence for it? That ain't fair, and you know it. This article is barely worth a penny, miss. I cannot offer any more. Sounds like there's an argument brewing over by the counter. Come on, that can't be right. You even had a proper butcher's at it. I've seen all I need to see, young girl. What? Don't we know? I'm sure I recognize her. Oh yes, it's the young lady from Mr. McGilda's trial 2 months ago. Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer. Earns her crust among large crowds, relieving people of their purses. What is commonly called a pickpocket. Gordon Bennett! You lot! Why do you still have that? Hello, Mr. Lestrade. I hope you've been well. What? You remember me then, do you? Well, I remember being completely surrounded by smoke, that is for sure. So, what are you doing in here? I don't down and out, like the rest of us. Nothing to eat. Come to pop that black weasel Sarcoat, have you? What is it about this black uniform that makes everyone comment on it? Ah, good day. Unless I'm much mistaken, you would be the young pickpocket who stole our experimental smoke grenade launcher. Ah, Mr. Sholmes. So, you have something of value to pawn, do you? Allow me to see the article, and I shall negotiate with Mr. Windybank on your behalf. Pull the other one. I don't need no help from some stuck-up D. Get on me business. Go on, or I'll make trouble for you. As you wish, Miss Lestrade. I'll happily remove myself from your presence. He's really done it. He's gone. I'm sorry, but as I said, there really is no room for negotiation here. What is that thing he has in his hand? Some kind of metal disc? And you! Go on! Leave me alone! Oh, Miss Lestrade, just pretend we aren't here. We shan't be offended in the slightest. Sudison can really stand her ground when she wants to. Whatever. Somehow, I didn't really think you were the sort of person who'd use a pawnbroker, Miss Lestrade. Yeah, well I am. Alright, I'm a Londoner, just like everyone else. That's a problem, is it? No, not at all. It's just that, well... Oh, I get it. I know what you're thinking. That thing probably don't even belong to her. Probably got it on the dive, didn't she? Yeah, I can see it written all over your Chevy Chase. Well, I might have been thinking something along those lines. You're not going to not deny it, Mr. Naruhodo? Alright then, I'm just going to come out and ask you straight. Do you pawn things that you steal from other people? Well, I don't know how best answer that, or really, Suppose sometimes. You're not going to deny it either, Miss Lestrade. But not this time, alright, I swear! The thing belongs to me! The disc that Mr. Windybank is holding. Perhaps we should see what he has to say about all this. Mr. Windybank, what exactly is this metal disc that Miss Lestrade has brought in? It seems to have hundreds of tiny little bumps on its surface. This is a music disc, you see, for use inside a music box. In a music box? What? You don't even know what a music box is. Just, you Eastern lot ain't too savvy, eh? I know what a music box is. I've just never seen one of these discs before. The small protrusions on the metal disc encode the tune to be played by the music box. You simply insert the disc and set the machine going, and beautiful music plays. It is so incredible. Tell us, what tune is on this disc? Well, I'm afraid I couldn't tell you that. There are so many different types of music boxes, you see. British made, German, Swiss. I have no way of knowing which particular machine this disc was made for. Ah, I see. And that is it in a nutshell. I wouldn't have any customers for an item like this, even if this young lady forfeited it. Really, I'm already offering more than I should at a penny. That's a packet of lies. He told me. He did. He said it was, well... Who's he? Never you mind. It just ain't right, that's all. This disc worth good money. I know it is. Well then, you'll have to try your luck at another pawnbroker's, won't you? Ah. She's been there before, of course. This little tattered Demalion. I see. And brought some dubious article or other with her every single time, I might add. Dubious? What are you trying to say? I'm an honest customer, me. So is this, dubious about the disc she brought in today? Well, if only it were that simple. Sorry? What do you mean? What she actually brought in was a storage ticket. Ah, a storage ticket? So... Miss Lestrade has actually come to redeem an article from you today? Is that right? Yeah, that's right. A girl like me has a lot of stuff worth needs stored. Alright, yes, that's definitely dubious. The article in question would have been forfeited at midnight tonight, but as she gave me the ticket for it and repaid both the loan and the interest, I was obliged to return the article to her. But what was the article? Do tell us, Mr. Windybank. The little scamp is wearing it, ma'am. It's the overcoat that she redeemed. Oh. What? What's wrong with that? It fits, don't it? I mean, it's mine, so of course it does. So, what about the disc then? How does that come into all of this? The disc is something else. A new article to pawn, if the girl and I agree to a price. New article to pawn. I'm confused. I thought you said that Miss Lestrade brought in a storage ticket today. It's really quite simple. Yes, the child brought me a storage ticket and the money owed on it, as you say. For this heavy black coat, which you returned to her care, as I understood it. That is right, yes. And rather unsurprisingly, as soon as the little ragamuffin put the thing on, she went rifling through the pockets. Oh, you mean... What? Don't you know it's rude to stare at a lady? Ah, I see. So it came from the pocket of the overcoat, did it? If you mean this disc, then yes. Exactly, ma'am. And she immediately tried to pawn it, for quite a high price as well. This is all rather suspicious, I think. Give it up! I'm just trying to pawn something like anyone else would. Miss Lestrade, may I ask who you deposited the overcoat here in the first place? Well, me. It doesn't really appear to be your size. Me, old man! It's me, old man's, ain't it? Is it, Miss Lestrade? Yes, this is definitely all rather suspicious. Out of my way, please! Who's this picture postcard English gentleman? Good day to you, ladies, gentlemen. What's your problem, eh? There's no problem, as long as you remove yourself. I have a matter to discuss with the proprietor. And if you intend to make a problem of it, I shall see you outside, little girl, for the hiding you deserve. Look, ain't it obvious? I ain't done talking with him yet. If you think you're such a gent, you should know how to wait in line. Well, you're an impudent little brat, aren't you? As well as a pickpocket. Eh? Who are you? Oh, do you know who I am? The question is, how do you not know who I am? You haven't the courtesy to even remember the faces of your victims, it seems. What, you mean, from you? Broker! Yes, sir? I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no? Yes, the article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. Oh my! Now that's a lie. What are you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel. And needless to say, any music box discs too. No, you can't have it. You just can't. It's me old man's, or it was. Now it's mine. Goodness, Mr. Naruhodo. This is a very awkward situation. Yes. I think perhaps we should hear both sides of the story in a little more detail. Let's hear Lestrade first. Miss Lestrade, is what the gentleman is saying... What do you think? It's all lies, ain't it? Obviously. I swear on my life, I ain't never laid eyes on that dandy before. Let's hear it now, you little ragamuffin. You stole it, didn't you? That ticket you brought in here just now. No, I swear it. I swear to God. It was barely an hour ago. I was walking along the street, minding my own business, when this little gutterling ran into me. I knew at once what had happened. I've been robbed yet again, thought to myself. Those wretched pickpockets. Yet again. Oh yes, as you can see, I'm a man of impeccable style. This isn't the first time that I've been targeted by these backslum scoundrels. Now then, relinquish my overcoat. Grrr. Come along now, Miss Lestrade. Give the good gentleman his coat back. If you're going to cause trouble, I shall have no choice but to cause the police. Hold on! What? Why is everyone thinking it's me? Just look at this dandy cove, and you think I'm the dodgy one? I'm sorry, but no one's going to believe you. Well, about evidence? Yeah. Where's the evidence that I've stolen something, eh? Come on, let's see it. Oh, I have evidence, naturally. You what? Evidence that the article Miss Lestrade redeemed actually belongs to this gentleman? Of course! We need only consult Mr. Windybank's ledger to know the truth. Well, we'll be able to look up the name of the person who deposited the article in the first place. Yes, brilliant! I'm very sorry, but I'm afraid that won't be possible. Oh. I never ask customers' names. That is a strict policy of mine. But why not? Well, now, as you can imagine, some of my customers have circumstances to consider, A great many of them prefer to maintain their anonymity. Yes, I see. But then, how could you know if an article belongs to the person asking to redeem it? Oh, it's quite simple! Good sir, might I trouble you for the watchword associated with the article in question? Of course, it is... Professor! Yes, that is right, and all the evidence we need. This gentleman is the rightful owner of the article, without doubt. A watchword? Interesting. Watchwords. So, about these watchwords, Mr. Windybank. As I just explained, I never ask customers' names when they deposit items with me. There are many reasons why. Certain customers would like to keep their activities secret. He looks directly at Mr. Sholmes. That wasn't exactly a subtle glance at Mr. Sholmes now, was it? Great detectives have no dark secrets. None at all. Yes, well, anyway, that is why I always ask for a watchword whenever I accept a new article. In many ways, it is like the secret combination of numbers used to unlock a vault. The date of deposit, a description, and a watchword uniquely identify each item. And of course, then I give the storage ticket to the customer. When someone comes to redeem something, I ask for the ticket and the watchword. And if that someone tells you the correct watchword, you return the article? That is right, sir. Yes, just as soon as the requisite fee is paid. And I've supplied you with the information you require already, but for the avoidance of doubt, the article in question is an overcoat deposited 2 months ago on 15th February. With the watchword of Professor. All perfectly correct information, sir. But how? Really, this is beyond a joke now. There is no further room for doubt. Interesting. Look at Mr. Windybank watching diligently over his shop. There's still so many things I'm curious about. I don't believe this is time for browsing, Mr. Naruhodo. We should probably see whether that argument's been resolved yet, I suppose. Excuse me, but who are you? One would expect the inquirer to introduce himself first. Though clearly you are not British, so perhaps our ways are foreign to you. Oh, sorry, yes, we are from the Empire of Japan. We are studying here. Oh, yes, Japan. I've heard talk of the place. Its inhabitants live on some fiery brown-colored soup, dressed up with exotic spices. You might be thinking of somewhere else. And what was that theatrical gesturation about? Perhaps, anyway, if you are a gentleman, sir, you offer your own name first, before inquiring after the name of the other. Of course, yes. I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a lawyer. Well, a student of law, really. My name is Susato Mikotoba. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's assistant. I see. My name is Benedict. Yes, Egger Benedict. Eggs Benedict. It comes full circle. He's the guy you play as in FNAF Sister Location. He's Eggs Benedict. Enchante. He's so refined in how he holds himself and how he speaks, but that name is suspicious. Now, to the matter at hand. My overcoat. Return it at once to someone with the style to carry it off. Grr. Every move he makes, every breath he takes, I can't stand watching him. So, let that be an end to the matter. And thank you for your custom, Mr. Egbert Benedict, sir. With such reasonable rates of interest, I may even decide to come back. This is why I hate grown-ups. Just 'cause I'm a diver, everyone thinks that makes me a liar. And the contents of the coat pockets, if you please, Brooker. But of course, sir, here is the disc for you. Just this one. Pardon, sir? I was expecting another, that is, I deposited another. Another disc? Oh dear. I regret to inform you, sir, that what was deposited with me was merely the overcoat. The disc happened to be in one of the pockets, but I was completely unaware of it until now. So, gutterling, you're hiding more of what is rightfully mine, are you? Says who, eh? I know nothing about it. Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style. Wait a minute. That disc is mine. Arg! What do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal. Oh my! Yes, there's blood on the disc. It's all because of those sharp little bumps. The man must have scratched his finger on them. I found it first, alright? I mean, it belonged to me, old man. So you're not having it. Oi, you take it. Me? If I hang on to it, they'll have it off me again. So you keep holding you'll keep holding of it. Miss Lestrade, why is this disc so important to her? The music box disc has been entered into the court record. You there, in the black livery. Hand that disc to me at once, please. No, don't. He's lying. Grown-ups are all liars. What do I do now? How am I going to resolve this? Mr. Sholmes, you take the disc. Mr. Sholmes, what are you examining with such keen interest there? As you enjoy a bar of caramel, I see. So, you found me at last, Mr. Naruto. Sorry? After that young pickpocket sent me on my way, I was forced to lurk in the shadows, cruelly ostracized as the rest of you partook in the jovial atmosphere of fellowship. I had nothing to occupy my mind, but was too ashamed to let society see what my downfall had done to me. So feigning mock interest, I pretended to examine the tedious trinkets in this desolate place. Whilst, as you shrewdly observed, gnawing on the only friend I have left, the 7% solution of caramel. Pray, do you claim to understand the depths of my despair, Mr. Naruto? But how could you? I was so lonely, so desperately lonely. Then, why on earth didn't you rejoin the conversation? Things have gone from bad to worse here, you know. Yes, I overheard much of your conversation. Or rather, in my craving for human contact, my ears devoured every word that was uttered. You really were sad, weren't you? Poor Mr. Sholmes, I feel so awful for you. It would seem that my inferences are correct. Oh, surely you're not about to tell us that you've solved the entire case once again. My dear madam, sometimes I wonder, were my genius for deduction to be commoditized? How much could I pawn it for? It seems Mr. Sholmes has had another of his flashes of inspiration, but who knows if he'll help to resolve the situation between Miss Lestrade and the mysterious gentleman. What is the right thing to do here? Listen to the deduction. Well, Miss Lestrade, it would appear you find yourself in something of a predicament. Tisk! Where the blue blazes have you been, eh? Pardon? When a lady's in trouble, a true gent's supposed to be there to help. Straight away, not an hour later. Harsh. And who, pray tell, are you? Mr. Egbert Benedict. You have, in my eyes, a veritable encyclopedic array of curiosities about your person. Nevertheless, there are two immovable conclusions I have drawn. I beg your pardon? The first is this. The true reason for your visit to this pawnbrokery today is something you have not yet revealed. And the second reason is this. A considerable crime is in contemplation, one you will orchestrate with the intent to steal a vast sum of money. Well, Mr. Benedict, what say you to my deductions? How? He's turned as white as a hard-boiled egg. It would seem that once again, Mr. Shums has made a flawless deduction. Just who do you think you are, sir? Ah, yes, as I hoped. That is precisely the pained expression I was looking for. So, shall we begin? The time has come for yet another Sherlock Holmes logic and reasoning spectacular. The great deduction. The game is afoot. I might actually do 8 parts of this instead of, well, 8 or 4 parts. It depends how long I want this stream to go. First of all, we must ask ourselves on what business you ventured to this pawnbrokery today. You claim to have followed this pickpocket here, having had the redemption ticket stolen from you on the street. But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different here. As revealed by that which you hold in your hand. Yes, what brought you to the shop in the first place is the staff recruitment flyer? The piece of paper in your hand is a staff wanted advertisement from this very shop. Yet even the most unobservant would soon realize that a man of your appearance has no such need for such employ. In other words, there's some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane, which you unwittingly clutch to your purses, exhibits an incontrivable contradiction. What utter rot! I've had this cane for years. The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the missing ferrule. I don't know what that is. The end of any walking cane would be terminated with a metal ferrule to protect the wooden tip. And yet, detailed analysis shows the wooden tip of this stick is to be utterly bare. Therefore, there's only one conclusion. The rod that you hold in your hand, which appears to be a walking cane, is in fact no cane at all. You recoil, sir. Is something wrong? And in your recoiling, you inadvertently facilitate the answer of the next conundrum you present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding the riddle you see. From the moment I saw it, my suspicions were aroused. What walking cane demands such a stout handle? Mused I. But of course, as I said, this is no walking cane. No, that rod is the broken handle of a shovel? What? Are you insane? And now, having determined this undeniable truth, the conclusion is clear. Your true motive for coming here was to take employment at this establishment in order to excavate the ground beneath the premises. What a calculated crime you have conceived, sir. A wickedly calculated crime. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. For we must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in planning. This is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, a gentleman, intend to excavate the ground beneath this pawnbrokery with a broken shovel? What on earth do you propose I could expect to find there? Some long-forgotten treasure, I suppose? Save for such a fanciful theory, what possible reason could I have to do as you say? Oh, but there is a simple reason. As you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict, and your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider what would motive a man to infiltrate a shop such as this covertly dig beneath its floor. The answer is revealed by the council note Notice on the counter in which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. This letter gives notice of public works to be carried out in the local area. And according to the enclosed plan of the upcoming sewerage works, beneath this shop runs a sewer that adjoins another, one that runs under the bank on the opposite side of the road. This madness hasn't entered the sewers now, has it? By excavating the ground beneath our feet, you would gain access to the waterway. That flows in every close proximity to the great vault of the financial institution opposite. What are you? In summary, sir, you devised a master plan to pull off an elaborate bank robbery by dint of the underground tunnels. Master plan? Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. With what plunder did the thief hope to make off from the underground vault of the bank? Are you quite serious? Having consulted with Scotland Yard some days ago, I happen to know the answer. But naturally, the answer is no secret to you, is it, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you are talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us what we need to know. A postcard of the exhibition. I'm afraid you've quite lost me. Currently, in the final stages of preparation, the great exhibition will soon be underway. And the government has provided extra funds to complete its centerpiece, the Crystal Tower. Funds to that currently sit in the vaults of the bank on the other side of this road. Pardon? Yes, the considerable crime you have been contemplating is the theft of that which sits in the vault of the bank, the special reserve funds for the great exhibition. Of course, that is top secret police information, so keep it under your hat, please. Dude, what the f is wrong with you? Dude just reveals top secret police information casually. Everything he said was crazy. Thus concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction of this pawnbroking puzzle. Mr. Sholmes. Well, Mr. Naruhodo? An impressively upbeat deduction for a detective wrecked with loneliness, would you not agree? Was it true what you said about the bank over the road and what it has in its vault? Indeed, though few know of its existence, it is one of the government's most closely guarded secrets. Gregson told me in the strictest confidence. But you just said, announced it to everyone here, rather loudly in fact. And if it's such a big secret, how would Mr. Benedict have come to find out about it? There can be but one explanation for that. Clearly it is because the man is a criminal. But what if he didn't know anything about the money in the vault? If he is a criminal, as you said, then buying a brand new shovel is sure to be the first thing he does now that you've revealed the secret. Oh. Or if he doesn't, maybe Mr. Windybank will. He already has plenty of shovels here after all. Oh my life, I assure you I'm not so unscrupulous. Well, hopefully this has taught you a valuable lesson. Sensitive information must be handled with the utmost of care. One can never be sure that someone privy to secrets won't disclose them, and once the word is out, it is out. Perhaps I'll think twice before confiding in you next time, Mr. Sholmes. An excellent idea, Mr. Naruhodo. An excellent idea. Ha 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 ha. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, you know what to do, I'm sure. Yes, let us listen to that great deduction again and see if we can massage it into shape. Very well then, let us start once more from the beginning. Of Sherlock Sholmes' magnificent logic and reasoning spectacular. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Mystery Man's aim. First of all, we must ask ourselves on what business you ventured to this pawnbrokery today. You claim to have followed this pickpocket here, having had the redemption ticket stolen from you on the street. But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different. as revealed by that which you hold in your hand. Yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place? Staff recruitment flyer. So, by Mr. Shum's reasoning, Mr. Benedict came here in order to apply for a job so he could dig down through the floor. Yes, in an attempt to tunnel into the sewers to gain access to the money in the vault of the bank across the road. But he wouldn't get very far with a broken shovel, would he? No, I think it's fair to say his motives lie elsewhere. The question is where? What did bring Mr. Benedict here at this particular point in time? Okay, let's look at his back. Well, looks like looks like a crude drawing of Gina Lestrade. Oh, look at all the scribbled notes on the back of the flyer here. I don't believe it. What is it? Listen to what it says. Name, Gina Lestrade. Height, 5'2". Green cap, scruffy waistcoat, grubby white shirt, blue satchel, ragged. It is a detailed description of Miss Lestrade. Goodness! There's even a sketch of her, hat and all. Although, if he showed it to her, she'd fire that smoke grenade launcher in his face for sure. And look, the details of the shop have been written down here too. Windybank's Bakery, Baker Street, redemption deadline, 15th April. Which is today's date! Why would Mr. Benedict have all that information scrawled on the back of the piece of paper?
Take that!
Yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place is the info about Miss Lestrade. Quite so, my dear fellow. It would appear that the writing in the sketch on the reverse of the flyer pertain to the pickpocket Miss Lestrade into Mr. Windybank's Bakery here. Ah! You originally told us that you had merely given chase after Miss Lestrade stole the redemption ticket from you. But that, sir, is a thinly veiled lie. It is the information on the back of the flyer that led you here today, by which I mean here to Windybank's Bakery, and today, the redemption deadline of that overcoat. So you waited outside for the young girl matching the description you have written down to arrive. Humph. And you have gone to some lengths to hide the reason for your pursuit of Miss Lestrade. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane, which you unwittingly clutched to your person, exhibits an incontrivable contradiction. What utter rot! I've had this cane for years. The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, missing ferrule. What's a ferrule? It's the metal cap commonly found on the end of a cane, Mr. Naruto. Ah, the bit that makes the nice clacking sound on the pavement. Yes, exactly. And Mr. Shums is right. It appears to be missing on this cane. But it doesn't actually look broken, does it? No, it doesn't. Though the gentleman certainly did recoil when Mr. Shums identified the cane as suspicious. In other words, there's something secret about the cane that Mr. Benedict would rather we don't know. A.G. Look here, Mrs. Sato. There's some letters on the handle. Ah, yes, those must be initials, I think. In the West, it's customary for people to engrave their belongings with the first letters of their names. So Herlock Sholmes would be H.S., you mean? That is right. And the initials on this cane obviously... Oh. A.G.? Or does it feel as though that's not quite right?
Take that!
The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the initialing. A most astute observation, wouldn't you say, Mr. Eggert Benedict? We are led to believe, sir, that your initials are E.B. Yet, in the most possessive manner, you have in your grasp a cane bearing the initials A.G. An incontrivable contradiction indeed, would you not agree? No, you are not. You are wrong. This cane isn't... You said before that you had that cane for years. Grr. So don't try to tell us that you just borrowed it from a friend or found it in the park. In short, Though you hold yourself to be a gentleman, you have withheld your true name. You recoil, sir. Is something wrong? And in your recoiling, you inadvertently facilitate the answers of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Let's consider the bare bones of what's happened here. Mr. Strahd redeemed that fine-looking overcoat, and now a mysterious man has appeared introducing himself with a fake name, and claiming that the overcoat belongs to him. But we know that he actually identified Mr. Strahd from a written description, which suggests that everything else he told us is untrue. So what we need to do here is somehow prove that the overcoat cannot possibly belong to him. You know, I heard something. Oh! The seam on the shoulder there is coming apart. Look. So it is. Do you know, a moment ago when Mr. Benedict was surprised by something that was said, I thought I heard him make a rather strange noise. It sounded a bit like a tiny growl. But now I think it was probably the sound of this seam ripping open. If you look closely, it does seem to be a very tight fit. The sleeves are stretched to bursting, and he wouldn't have a hope of fastening it at the front. If he were to run around in it, I'm sure the whole thing would fall apart. That I'd like to see. Sorry? So how can we make Mr. Benedict run around? She's really giving this some thought.
Take that!
The split seam, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Yes, because the overcoat is rather obviously a poor fit. Having forced it over your broad shoulders, the seam is already breaking apart. My suspicions were aroused from the outset. When you so baldly lied about your name and so boldly waylaid this pickpocket. Arg. This catalog of untruths has all been for one very specific purpose. To steal the article that the young girl redeemed from the Mr. Windybank. Arg. But what really irks me is this. The considerable crime I initially imagined has been considerably curtailed. To abscond with a redeemed item. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. For we must expose the detail of this elaborate crime you have been planning. This is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, a gentleman, designed a wheeze to filch some tawdry article of pawnage. Have you forgotten that I redeemed the article in the proper manner, using the watchword? Had I not been the one to deposit it in the first place, how could I possibly have known the relevant details necessitas? Oh, but the watchword can be discovered, as you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. Ah, and your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider how one might come to learn a secret watchword relating to the pawned property of another. The method is revealed by the council note on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. The direction of the deduction must change rather dramatically now, I think. Yes, no more talk of tunneling into the sewers, which is a pity because it all sounded rather exciting. Anyway, you can't deny that this mysterious gentleman did know the watchword. Yes, Professor. If you didn't know that word, Mr. Windybank would never allow you to redeem the article. Or, looking at it another way, if you did know that word, Mr. Windybank would allow you to redeem the article whether it was yours or not. So the question is, could this gentleman have found the watchwords out somehow? Look at this, Mrs. Otto. Ah, it appears to be a memo that Mr. Windybank has scribbled to himself. Let's see. What does it say? Oh, Professor. Mr. Windybank must take a note of the watchwords his customers give him. And an alarmingly clear script as well. What did that say? Right before their eyes. Oh dear. I don't know where to look. Who knows what other secrets I might see?
Take that!
The method is revealed by the notelet on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. Yes, the broker here follows the same procedure whenever a customer comes to redeem an article. He asks the customer for the watchword and notes down the response uttered on a notelet he has to hand. Then he consults his ledger and confirms whether or not the watchword matches that of the article in question. I would expect nothing less of a diligent pawnbroker, but his diligence clearly has its disadvantages. What are you talking about? It is increasingly apparent that you were present in this shop before your accusation against Miss Lestrade. In all likelihood, you followed her inside and then observed her talking to Mr. Windybank. When the diligent broker made a note of the watchword, as is common practice, you observed him writing the word Professor on the notelet beside the ledger. And that, sir, was the master plan you devised to steal the pawned article from the young Miss Lestrade. Master plan? Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. Why would you go to such lengths to redeem that particular article from this pawnbroker? Are you quite serious? For an ill-fitting overcoat hardly seems to justify the effort, much less a worthless music box disc. But naturally, you had very good reason to make them yours, didn't you, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you are talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know. The articles we are talking about are the overcoat and the music box disc that was in one of the pockets, which according to Mr. Windybank isn't even worth a penny. And yet this man went to such lengths to steal them. Why? I wonder if perhaps we already have the evidence we need to explain, Mr. Naruto. Could we? Really? I'd better have a thorough look through all the evidence we've collected so far. It's the armband! Nah, it has to be the music box disc. Or not. What spectacularly contrived logic led you to this mindless conclusion? Oh, well, it's supposed to be a logic and reasoning spectacular, so I thought I'd contribute to the show. This is my show, Mr. Naruto. I kindly perform any peculiar experiments on your own stage. Sorry. This man has used some fairly high-handed measures to try to get his hands on the overcoat and the disc. He certainly doesn't want either for their monetary value, though. Still, they must be of value somehow to someone. This is the last piece of this puzzle. I'd better have another look through the evidence to see if there's any clues hiding. Ah, there's a note on the back. Can't read it. To McGilded. Oh, there's a little scrap of paper stuck onto the reverse side of the disc. Look, and a scribbled word or two. It looks like somebody's name. For McGilded. For McGilded. McGilded? It couldn't be. But it is, Mr. Naruto, a name I shall never forget, for as long as I live. But why? Why is this name on this? The music box disc information has been updated in the court record. Why is this so short? I mean, I guess it makes sense. Present. You see, this music box disc tells us all we need to know. What is that? On the back. It reads, For McGilded. Ah! Ah, Mr. Magnus McGilded, the unfortunate philanthropist who perished in curious circumstances at the Old Bailey 2 months ago. A prominent man in London, though his slow-mongering demonstrated a distinct lack of scruples. So, you're an associate of his, are you? Or perhaps a subordinate? Mr. McGilded was a man of unusually small stature, in fact. He was precisely the right size for that overcoat that you've squeezed yourself into. Ugh. Your true identity remains shrouded in mystery, Mr. Edgar Benedict. But the final conclusion here is crystal clear. The reason you came to this pawnbrokery today was to retrieve an article left behind by the late Magnus McGilded. Man. My throat is already gonna give out and it's been like 2 hours. I should probably cut this one short. So I'm gonna end it at the to be continued. Well, well, Mr. Magnus McGilded. Not a name I expected to hear in these circumstances. Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid there's something very troubling on my mind. Pray tell, Mrs. Sato. Well, according to what Mr. Windybank had told us earlier, today was the final day on which the overcoat could have been redeemed, was it not? Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Today would be precisely 2 months since it was first deposited. Well, today is 15th April, so 2 months ago today would have been 15th February, sir. That is right. It is all carefully recorded in my ledger. Deposited at 10:30 p.m., I see. What? But that suggests... Yes, 15th February is precisely the day on which the omnibus murder took place. And 10:30 in the evening is precisely the time at which the terrible events were unfolding. Suggestive, if is not the word, it would seem the matter is entirely beyond coincidence. You are, of course, at liberty to make whatever outlandish deductions you choose. However... Oh, he pulls again. I must insist you hand over the music box disc now. It would be a terrible shame for you to return to your native land in a box. What do I do? I'm probably gonna die. Nah. There are some things a man must protect at all costs. This may well be one of those things. Then again, it may not. Hold it. Mr. Windybank! This is my shop. I can't allow any harm to come to my customers. If that were to happen, I should have to take my own life. Mr. Windybank, no! Alright, that's enough. Inspector Gregson! Inspector? That is right, Sunshine. The alarm was raised on one of our dedicated emergency lines, so we got here as fast as we could. Now, what is all this about, eh? Oh, praise be! You're here at last! I was moments away from forfeiting my own life in my very own establishment. It would seem you have the upper hand. Right, you lot have got some explaining to do. I don't appreciate being bothered with some petty argy-bargy. Petty? Mr. Windybank very nearly met with his end. Yeah, by his own gun, as far as I can tell. Oh dear. And the whole of Britain could meet with its end if I don't get to the bottom of this case I'm supposed to be working on. What on earth is the case, Inspector? Spare no detail, Gregson. I might have said a little too much. No matter. It has nothing to do with you lot. Anyway, sir, you're going to have to come with me down to the station. But of course, Inspector. Ah! He's getting away! Get after him, lads! Whistle the beat officer, too! Sir! There's been a spate of thefts at pawn shops around here recently, so we fit in emergency buttons underneath the counters for brokers to let us know when there's trouble. Oh, Inspector, I was very worried there for a while. Very worried indeed. Now then, Mr. Permanently in Mornin. Oh, yes? I'll be taking that whatever it is of McGilda's down to the yard. Thank you very much. So hand it over. Oh, yes, of course. No, don't give it to him. It's mine. That it is. Mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGilded has been taken in as evidence now. As evidence? If the police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we have no choice but to capitulate. It is all yours, Inspector. Grrr. And so, we handed Mr. McGilded's disc over to Inspector Gregson, and were summarily turfed out of the shop and onto the street. And my throat is dying, so I'm gonna have to leave it here, unfortunately. Maybe I'll end up doing shorter streams for the 5th trial, but that's part 1. We're moving on to part 2 next time. And maybe I'll figure out how to fix the chat box and alert box. That would be lovely.